Ja.
Nummer, ja.
Sorry, Robert and Nathan, we had some problems. Now I started a new live stream on YouTube channel. I hope that you can find it. You can come out from YouTube and go back again. Okay, can you hear me through YouTube now? Could you hear me through YouTube? Okay, good. Thank you.
Line self with the right align.
Okay, so sorry for it was an interruption here. So vectors continue. So if you remember, we talked about this problem. So I don't write this again. But I told you that there are 4 points. We have points O, A, B, and C. They are 4 points so that they might be on the same line, or they might be on the same plane, or might be 3 of them on the same plane. Next one is out. We don't know anything, but we know something about them. I know that if I calculate 5 times the vector from O to A, minus 2 times the vector from O to B, minus 3 times the vector from O to C, it becomes the 0 vector. This is the only piece of information given to me regarding these 4 points. Yes? My claim is that, this is my claim, and I want to prove it. My claim is that O, A, A, B, and C. A, B, and C lies on the same straight line. A, B, and C lie on the same straight line. Yes? So these are a little bit more advanced problems. It's good to know about them. So do you have any idea how can I solve this problem? You see that why this example I gave it to you yesterday? Because officially yesterday we learned about multiplying a vector by a number, yes? And this is 5 times a vector, minus 2 times another vector, minus 3 times another vector is the 0 vector. Of course, you might not be able to solve this problem because you are not that experienced in these kinds of problems. You need to start from some place, and this is a good place to start. So do you have any idea how can I solve the problem? Yes?
Well, maybe like one thing is like we know that 2OB plus 3OC would be equal to 5OA. If you subtract them, it's the 0 vector or something like that.
Okay, this is the assumption, but how can I use this assumption?
Well, if we know that this assumption must be true for it to be the 0 vector, then if we can prove that 2OB plus 3OC is equal to 5OA, then maybe we have a proof.
No. This is a very important logical flaw, if I understand you correctly. What I'm trying to say, this is given to me. This is a piece of information given to me, yes? And then based on this information, somehow I want to convince you that it is inevitable. A, B, and C, they have to be on the same line. You know that if I say that I chose 3 points in this room, there is no guarantee that the points that I have chosen in my brain are exactly on the same line. Yes, do you agree? Yeah. Because might be I have chosen, I don't know, that corner with this corner. Who knows? Yes, they are not on the same line. But I want to tell that if this is going to happen, then it is inevitable. This point A, that point B, and this point that I have chosen in my head, I should have chosen them on the same straight line. Otherwise, this will not work. Yes, yes.
Is there a way to use Charles' rule in this?
Somehow, yes, but not exactly in this form. Yes, because there are some obstacles for me. These numbers. Yes, the Charles rule that you have. For example, you have AB vector plus BC vector. This becomes AC vector. First of all, this is an addition. Secondly, there are no numbers there. These numbers are, if you want to, they are just one. And then these middle ones are the same.
So I can like interchange them in a way, so it becomes like.
Okay, so that is a good starting point. But what I can do with these coefficients then? Because for the Charles rule to work, you see there is no number involved. Actually, the numbers are one, so that we don't write them. Yes, but these are not one. So these are the ideas. What I'm trying to say is that if you want to learn mathematics, you need to learn the way of thinking. Okay, little by little, it will improve if you are interested. Of course, I'm not saying that everyone should like mathematics, but if you like mathematics, this is the way that you progress. Okay, I will try. I'm just making some playlist for Math 3C, Math 4, but I will try to add some problems, especially from Math 2C. So if you are interested, I really recommend you go and try to solve those problems yourself. So how I think. So this is the way. So we realize that might be, if you have enough experience, Charles equation is a good one, but the obstacle is these numbers. But there is a relation between 5, 2, and 3. Everybody knows about that. Might be you don't pay attention to it. Yes. Do you see any relation between them? So everybody knows what is the relation between 5, 2, and 3?
No, prime number.
Yeah, that's true, but that's not my intention. Yes.
You mean like a right angle triangle?
No, forget about this.
Yeah.
It's the simplest primary school thing. 5, 2, and 3. Yeah, as simple as that. 5 is 2 plus 3. Yes. Why do you want to search for something very strange? By the way, this is something that you need to train your brain. You need to train your brain that don't make the problem more complicated than it is. Okay? First of all, you need to check what is very natural and normal. Because this has been designed by a human being again. And that human being was thinking the same way that you were thinking. Yes? So this, you shouldn't think for a very strange thing. But of course, if they are experienced, they can make the problem harder and harder. Okay, then this is something solving like a puzzle. But this is something that we can at least start. There is no guarantee that this will work. You need to get used to it if you want to learn mathematics. Most of the time, I solve the problem, it doesn't work, I throw it away and I start another way. This is the way that you have to use to it. Okay, let us try at least one thing. It's better than not doing nothing, yes? So instead of 5, do you agree I can write 2 plus 3, yes? And then I have this. Let me repeat everything. So you need to be patient, by the way. OB and then minus 3 OC is equal to 0 vector. Okay, if I do this, what do you think? What would be the next step that I will do? Yes?
Maybe cancel the parentheses with the OB and OC numbers.
So how? How should I cancel? You mean to get rid of the pair of brackets, but how should I do that? Do you remember I wrote a formula yesterday for you that if I have two numbers, alpha and beta, added together, and then you want to multiply it by a vector, you are allowed to multiply the first number by your vector, and then multiply the second number by your vector, and then add them at the end. Do you remember? That was one of the main properties here. So I can do the same idea here. I can multiply 2 here. It becomes 2 vector OA. And then I multiply this here, it becomes 3 vector OA minus 2 OB minus 3 OC is equal to the 0 vector. So let me tell you something. There are always two questions in your head. One question, you should try to ignore that for the time being. The question is that, how should I know to do this? There is no way that a teacher can teach you this. I can talk a little bit around that, how I think, but you need to find your own way. And this will come by experience. The thing that the teacher can explain to you is that, okay, I can explain how I did this. If you ask me why, I can say yes. Do you agree that 2 plus 3 is 5? You say yes, so I say that this is correct. But how do you think that I should do this? Because 5 can also be written as 4 plus 1. Why I have chosen to write 2 plus 3 instead of 4 plus 1? This is a question. Why? Yes?
Because you have to.
Yeah, because this is the natural step to start. It might happen that 4 plus 1 will work at the end. Who knows? But at least that is not the natural starting point. This way of thinking, you need to repeat over and over again if you want to be good problem solver in mathematics. Okay? So now, can you tell me what would be the natural step to do next? I'm not saying, I mean, for me it's natural because I probably have trained my brain. I don't know. How do you see the problem? Is it natural or not? But what do you think would be the purpose of breaking 5 into 2 pieces? Yes? Yes?
Could we maybe like interchange them and then make a minus sign, or?
No, so why do you think that these 2 and these 3 will be useful? Yeah, interchanging come later. Yes. Yes?
If you interchange 2OB and 3OC, you can use them to cancel.
So they cannot cancel each other in this form, but might be you mean this one and this one, they have a 2 in common.
Yes.
Yes? If you mean this. Can I pull that 2 out between these 2?
Yes.
So what is happening is OA minus OB. Agree?
Yes.
Okay. Now what can I do with what is left? Probably the same thing. Agree? So this becomes 3OA minus OC. Yes? And then what is on the right-hand side? Of course, this is the 0 vector. If you want, you can draw a diagram to understand what to do here. I want to repeat because this is so important that I want you to also learn how to draw the diagram. Or you can use the idea of Alexandros by using the interchange and the shawl rule. Yes? Let me first of all use the shawl rule. How can I use the shawl rule here? Apparently, this is not in the form of a shawl rule here because shawl rule needs a positive sign in between. I have a negative sign in between. But you have enough experience that this is not a big deal. Yes, we can get rid of this negative sign. The price that you need to pay is to interchange these 2. Yes, so let us do that. So you see, this is the way that you need to train your brain over and over again and hope for the best that you will be a good problem solver at the end. Okay, and then this becomes 2, and then instead of OA, I just write OA vector. And then I write plus the price that I need to pay is to interchange these 2. And hopefully you see that the idea repeats itself in the second pair of brackets. So it becomes OA plus what? CO is equal to 0. But is this exactly in the form that I need it right now? It is addition, but the letter in between is A and B. They are not equal. So this is not the shawl rule yet. You see, this is what you, in principle, if you have listened to me, the hard part of this problem is writing this. What I am doing is just coming from my past experiences. I am just repeating. This is the mathematics. If you learn your previous lessons, there is only few steps that you need to do to reduce your new problem to a problem that you already know. Okay? So here, for me, this is not an obstacle. Because I know it in my head, when I want to make the shawl rule of this, I have to interchange, I have to interchange. I have repeated this so many times, so I have it in my memory. So this becomes BO plus OA, and then you have 3. Yes, yours. And then you have CO plus OA is equal to 0. Okay, now tell me, is this the shawl rule or not?
Yes.
Yes. What is the answer?
BA.
BA. So there's a 2 here. So it's 2BA. And then this is also the shawl rule, sorry, plus 3. And then this is CA is equal to 0. Okay? So at least I would say this is a progress. Yes? You shouldn't be too ambitious in mathematics. This is a progress. Why? Because I had 3 terms. Now I am dealing with 2 terms. So at least I succeeded to simplify the problem 1 step. It's good. It's not a failure, at least. Okay? But now a little bit of experience is needed here. I do the first one. I want to wait for you to see how do you reason for me. Okay? I will take 3 to CA to the right-hand side. So this becomes 2BA. It becomes 0 minus this one. What is the answer? So in principle, it should be 0 minus 3CA. But 0 minus this vector, what is the answer? Minus 3. That, yes, exactly. So it is 2BA equals to minus 3CA. Now, I divide by 2 everything. So BA becomes minus 3 over 2 CA. Yes? This, I agree that this part needs a little bit of experience. But if you solve this problem, I don't know, you need to somehow remember the ideas behind problems if you want to be a good problem solver. And that is always in any occupation. So if you are a very experienced engineer, you don't solve the problems that you face every day, every time from scratch. You have them in your memory and you use them. That's the same for mathematics. But now, this part might seem strange for you. Why I have done this? You will see the purpose. But I want to wait. Can you tell me why from this I can conclude this claim? So you see, if I ask you what is this, you would say that this is the same information. This is the same information written in a more compact form. But I couldn't prove my claim directly from this, but now I can prove my claim using this equivalent equation. Okay? And now I want to wait for you. Why do you think this equality between these 2 vectors imply that these 3 points has to be on the same straight line? This I want to teach you. This we can improve at least a little bit. I don't know if you can talk to me. How do you think about the problem? Because I want to see what is going on in your brain. But just staring to the problem is not problem solving, yes? It doesn't mean that you are thinking. You need to have a strategy for problem solving. You need to have a strategy for your thinking, yes?
I think that it starts from B and ends at the A point, then C starts at like whatever point it is and ends at A. So it becomes like connected somehow.
So how do you know that this is not happening? Let me ask your understanding. How do you know that this situation will not happen? How do you know that this is not happening?
I don't.
Yeah, so this is why. If this happens, it means that I cannot prove my claim because I am claiming that 100%, I guarantee that these points are on the same line. Why do you think that is not the case if this is going to work? I want to teach you how to think about the problem. It's not hard. You need to remember. So what do you see? Can you describe it to me? What do you see on the left? I will come to you. What do you see on the left? What is this? It's a vector. What do you see on the right? A vector multiplied by a number. So it means that there should be a relation between these 2 vectors. This vector is a multiple, is a constant times another vector. So what can I conclude about these 2 vectors? So you see, I am not being very creative. I am repeating my lesson to myself. I have a vector is equal to a number multiplied by another vector. Then this is the previous lesson. What is the relation between these 2 vectors if you see this? Just talk about this. This is just repetition of lesson, yes?
The CA is negative, and then the BA is positive.
No. There is no meaning of positive or negative or vector, is there? There are 3 properties for vectors. Slope, length direction. So you cannot say a vector is positive. What is the meaning? Yes? Yes?
They're different, but they're parallel.
Exactly. Debate here. So this means that if I conclude that this vector is parallel to this vector, do you buy it?
Maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
No? If this is maybe, you need to ask me questions, because that was the lesson we learned yesterday. If a vector is a number multiplied by another vector, these two vectors have to be parallel. Is that understandable? So because this is true, I can conclude that these two vectors are parallel. And if you insist, you can say the direction of this is different from the direction of this, opposite to the direction of this, because it is negative. Yes? But this is completely true. Now, can you say, Cameron, you wanted to complete it?
Both vectors include A. The A lies on the same plane. If they're parallel, that means they both
They are
lie
the
on the
same.
same
So
line.
that is very crucial now. So you see, we realize that BA, if I draw them in this way, BA and CA, yes, they cannot be parallel. Do you see? BA is this vector, CA is this vector. Are they parallel? No. There is a point in common. You see, at letter A, the point A is the same point A here. So it means that this vector and that vector, on the one hand, share one point. This is one thing. On the other hand, they have to be parallel. I have two lines. If I insist that they have the same point and they have to be parallel, what is the meaning of this? They share this point. They have to be parallel as well. So it means that they lie on each other, yes? And when they lie on each other, it means that this B is here or here, we don't know, but who cares? We wanted to say that A, B, and C are on the same line. Is that understandable? Yes or no? Yeah, so that is the idea. So this is one experience. If you really like mathematics, because some of you are saying that you like mathematics, you need to be patient. You need to listen everything that I am saying for this simple problem. You get experience, and collecting these, gathering these experiences in your brain so that hopefully you can solve something new for yourself. And this will come. It depends how persistent you are. Is there any questions here? Is the understanding clear? So I started from here. It was a little bit hard problem to see why I should do these strange things, but at least you understand what I have done here is legal, mathematically. And then after doing that, I just reached to this point and asked myself, what is the conclusion from here? I remembered the previous lesson yesterday that if a vector is a number multiplied a vector, I can immediately conclude that these two vectors are parallel. If these two vectors are parallel, another interesting thing between these two vectors is that these two vectors share a point. Yes? They share a point on the one hand. On the other hand, they are parallel. So what does it mean? It means that they have to lie on each other. And if they lie on each other, it means that A, B, and C are on the same line. It doesn't matter if B is here or if B is bigger, it should lie on the same point, on the same line. So this means that, so I don't write it because I don't want to spend more time on it. I just talked about it orally. So if you want, we can listen to the bit. Yes?
You talk about A, B, and C, but there is also an O in.
So it
what
was
is that?
irrelevant here in this problem.
Sorry?
It was irrelevant. You see that. So O was serving as an intermediate variable here. It was actually cancelled in the calculation.
So
And you see that the claim is not saying anything about O.
yeah, and
Still, we don't know where O is.
so there's no guarantee O is also on the same
No,
line.
there's
It could
no
be.
guarantee.
It could.
Yeah, it could be anywhere actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that clear? So this way of thinking, unfortunately, we don't have that much time to start talking about how to solve the problem always. But you know that if you want to join this mathematical international contest in mathematics called Mathematics Olympiad, so that is the way that the people do. They just gather the actually more talented students with a stronger background, and they sit down in a room and try to solve problems together. That's the only way that you can train. Yes, if you want to be a good runner, you have to start running. There's no other way. And if you want to be a good problem solver in mathematics, you have to solve a lot of problems. Okay? But not blindly. And memory plays a very vital role here, because if you are those kind of person who learn something I believe that 99% now you are confident about that. If no, please ask me. But the problem is that more or less, this is my experience, that if I ask something similar exactly to this problem, you need to do it everything from scratch. Okay, so that becomes harder and harder by time. Any questions here? Let me start another interesting problem. Let us see how you think about this. So this is not that hard, but I think it's also very instructive. So example, in a quadrilateral ABCD, comma, M, capital M, is the midpoint of AB, side AB, and capital N is the midpoint of CD, side CD. Show that the vector Mn is equal to 1/2 times vector AD plus vector BC. This is also a nice problem. I just want to wait a little bit for you, because at least, you see, this is written in words, but this is a vector problem. So in principle, you need to draw a figure for yourself. And then I told you something about the convention. You remember about A, B, C, and D? How many of you remember? So for example, am I allowed to say that this is my quadrilateral? No. So it's good, you remember. Because when this is a convention in geometry, when they say A, B, C, D, you are not allowed to put the names in this form. You choose a point whatever you want. You need to decide, do you want to go clockwise or anti-clockwise? But you need to respect it, okay? So if I start from here and I want to go clockwise, if this is A, this is B, this has to be C. And this has to be D. So that is okay. So that's very good that you remember. For example, assume that you don't remember this. You might draw the picture in that way, and then you will get something wrong. It doesn't work. So it is very important to understand what is the convention here. Okay, I just want to wait a little bit for you. Draw a diagram for yourself. When I say a quadrilateral, do not draw a square. Do not draw a rectangle. Do not draw, I don't know, a trapezoid, rhombus. These are quadrilaterals, but they are particular cases. When I say a quadrilateral, it means general. Okay, so you need to find a random quadrilateral. Try to draw that and try to understand the problem, and then I will come to your help to see how we can solve the problem. Okay, now just do it. What did you say? So, for example, this picture that you have drawn is not wrong, but this is a square.
Yeah.
It is but from my experience, it is bad to draw a square. It doesn't mean this doesn't work for a square. But if you draw a square, then because a square is very symmetric, it might misguide you, draw wrong conclusions. Because something might be true in a square, which is not in general true. But if you draw it a square, then it will actually misguide you. Okay, this is the case, that is the case, yes? That which is not true in general. If they mention that this is a square, you have to draw it a square. But if they say quadrilateral, it means that there is no particular demand for that quadrilateral. So you need to draw a generic one. And for example, the one that Gustav has drawn is also trapezoid. Yes,
Really?
because these two are parallel. I am not saying this is wrong. If you do, I want you to understand, because we are not dealing with the example. We want to understand, increase our understanding. So if I want to draw the quadrilateral, which is not a particular one, I will try to draw something like this, for example. If I ask you, is this a trapezoid, you would say no, because trapezoid should have two lines parallel, which is not the case. Is it a square? Clearly not. Is it a rhombus? No. It's not a particular quadrilateral, it's a generic one. And then what I do, I name it like this: A, B, C, and D. That is what I prefer to do. Okay, and then I think, where is M? M is the midpoint of AB. So let me change my color. This is the midpoint. This is the middle, M. And where is N? The midpoint of CD or DC. So hopefully it is somewhere here. N. And then what is the vector involved in my formula, in my relation is Mn. So this vector, yes. This is the vector. And then of course you have AD, a vector. Yes, and you have, let me draw it with black here because that's black. So AD is vector. So you see any line segment has the capacity to turn into two different vectors, AD or DA. But in this problem they are talking about AD. And then I have BC. So for example, in this figure, you see that there is no guarantee that this is parallel with this one, with that one. But the picture that you draw before, do you remember, Gustav? So this seems to be parallel to this one. But no, that's okay. That's okay. No, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I thought that you hadn't changed. Yes.
I had changed.
And be careful about this, please. Okay, do you have any idea how to prove this? Just talk to me. It might be the ideas are wrong, but I want you to understand, because it was very long back when I was at your age. I didn't remember how I thought about the problem. But when you talk to me, I realize how do you think I can correct it? Yes?
So I multiplied 1/2
Yes?
into the bracket.
Yes?
And so we have half of AD
Okay.
vector plus half of BC vector equals MN vector.
Equal, yes?
And that's all I do.
Okay. So what is the problem with this way of thinking? I'm just teaching you mathematics. I never do that because I have some experience. The reason is that this is good if you do it in a scratch paper. Yes? Because I don't know what should I do, so I go to a scratch paper, do whatever it takes to get some idea. But be careful. Am I allowed to manipulate this? Is it guaranteed or something that I want to show? This is something that I want to show. I don't have any guarantee that this is true yet. You can always work with something and conclude something true based on if you have started from something is true. If you start to manipulate this, okay, might be this is good. This technique is also good. Might be it gives you some hint how to solve the problem. Yes. But this is not allowed in general because I don't know this is still true or false. I want to show this is true. You understand the logic? If I don't know, if I know this is true, what I'm going to show? There is nothing left. But what Gustav said is good, because in my scratch paper, I multiply this by 2. What happens? It becomes 2mn, and this becomes AD plus BC. This gives me this gives me a hint how to do it. Because as soon as I see 2 here, I realize that it is possible to write mn in 2 different ways and add them so that I can have 2mn. Okay, so I know that these are not that easy to gain, but if you don't learn these things, you will always depend on a teacher to tell you what to do. And you know that if you are studying, the goal is to be better than your teacher, at least in one field, and then do something new. Otherwise, it will just repeat what everyone has done. So the reason that we are studying mathematics is to learn this skill. Okay, so now can you tell me, how can I write mn? How can I write mn as the sum? Because you see mn is a sum. But do you see how can I write mn as sum of some vectors in this picture? It's not that hard. It might be a little bit hard for you because you don't have experience, but it is easy if you learn. Yes? Yes? And then how can I find mn? Yes?
You mean like half AB plus half BC?
No, this is again, you are using this.
Okay.
But momentarily forget about this. Is it possible to write mn as the sum of 2, 3, or 4 vectors? Can you see this picture? It's not hard.
I think it is.
No, because you haven't. This is the bad thing I want to correct. Might be because of the way that you have trained your brain up to this point, you totally forget. Total forgetfulness is very bad. Okay, yes?
Could you like do MA plus AD plus DN?
So why Abdullah did that? Because I don't know. You need to ask Abdullah. That's correct. And do you think that this is, you couldn't do that? If I write MA plus AD plus DN, tell me exactly what is the answer?
Mn.
MN. Is that if you don't know this, it means that you have forgotten something, because we talked about this a lot. Yes. First of all, I want you to understand. Might be you couldn't discover it yourself, but when I am pointing it, it should be a matter of seconds to understand. If this is more, if you have more delay, it means that you have forgotten something. Okay. So might be you haven't discovered that, but let me repeat it. Do you agree with me in 1 second after I finish? MA plus AD plus DN is MN? Yes. Is that understandable for? If not, please ask me. There is only one reason that you don't understand it, because you have forgotten. Because I am a teacher and I have experience. I know that you know this rule when I was teaching it. Okay? So let me write it here. So this session is a good session for understanding these things. Unfortunately, I cannot spend so many time. We cannot finish. But this is the way that you need to think yourself. So MA plus AD plus DN. By the way, do you need the figure to write this? The shall rule, yes? A and A are cancelled, MD, D and D are cancelled, MN. This is also another way to see the same problem. Now, do you remember I thought that Gustav made something good because he said that I multiply this. I changed it a little bit. I multiplied it by 2 in my head, not because I am trusting this. I want to get an idea how to deal with that. If I multiply by this by 2, then I will have 2mn. So this motivates me to write mn in a different way, because I have 2mn. Okay, so this is one way of writing mnn. Of writing mn. Do you see another way of writing immediately?
MB plus BC plus CN.
Agree? Instead of going in this direction, I can go in this direction. Do you agree? So mn is again what? MB, again, a matter of seconds should be understanding this. MB plus BC plus CN. Agree? 2 different ways. The shall rule 2 times or the diagram. Do you agree? Why this was useful? Because the idea Gustav said, I corrected it a little bit. He said multiply inside. I said no, let us multiply by 2. There is one rule. I have repeated it several times. I hate fractions. Yes? You see, you don't remember that. Hate fractions, try to hate them. Okay, so you need to get rid of them as soon as possible. Okay, so if you multiply by 2, you will get 2mn. So this gives me this idea, a little bit of experience is needed, that mn should be written in 2 different ways. But now, can you tell me what would be the next step? It is not hard to guess. If you haven't lost your path, your route. So what would be the next step that I want to do right now? Add. You see, you understand it yourself now. But you need to think in this way. The reason that I am adding, because I did something in a scratch paper, I multiplied it by 2, I got a 2mn here. There is a very natural way to make 2mn out of it. Add it, yes? So when I add it, okay, and by the way, you shouldn't focus on this bad picture, okay? If I add them, there would be a mess. How can I deal with that? Might be it will come. It might be it is easier than you think. Let us do that. If I add this one with that one, what will happen?
2m.
It becomes 2mn. Okay, but now let me try to add these. Okay, there is one pair that I need. Good. This is good for me. Yes, AD plus BC appears here, and that's a good news. Yes, because I need it. Okay, but there are 4 other ones that I don't need. Unfortunately, they are there, and that is always the case. Okay, so how should I deal with that? So let me write these things next to each other because I need them, and I don't need these. So let me write MA plus MB plus DN plus CN. Okay, I need them. I don't need them. So this is every time. It's good in mathematics to organize your thoughts. So here I see on the right hand side AD plus BC is needed. So I keep it next to each other, and then I have a lot of the stuff, I don't need them. Okay, is it finished or not?
No.
Yeah, it is one step to be finished. What does it mean? If you trust the person who has designed this question, if you trust, it means that what should happen for this bunch of vectors? They have to be 0. Yes, if this is the way that you need to think. Can I find a way to show that this is 0? If this is 0, do you agree I am done? Because if that bunch of vectors add to 0, I can just ignore them because this is 0. Then I will get 2mn equals to this. Then I divide by 2, I get my answer. Is that clear? Yeah. This is the way. You see, this is a very active way. Every time I am just struggling with myself. Okay, I want to solve this one. Oh, I am in a, I don't know, that's a misfortune that I have this one, but you need to find a way to get rid of them. This is the way that you need to think. Yes?
If M is the midpoint of AB,
Yes.
they're opposite.
So you see that MA and MB are on the same line. As Cameron said, M is given to be in the middle. So what does it mean? It means that the length of this and the length of this vector is the same. And they are parallel on the same line, but one of them is pointing in this direction and the other one is pointing in the opposite direction. Okay, so what is the answer to this? 0. By the way, can I use the Shaw rule here? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
No, because you need to remember M is on the side. M should be in between. So yes, forget about that. But you see that this MA plus MB is 0. What I mean is that for this part, no Shaw rule can be used. You have to use the picture. Okay? But what about DN plus CN? The same idea. Yes? This is the same line. N is given to be in the middle. So the size of this, the magnitude of this vector and the magnitude of this vector are the same. But one of them is pointing in this direction, the other one is pointing exactly in the opposite direction. Yes? So if I ask you, what is this one? What is this one? Again, everyone? 0. But a vector plus 0 is nothing except the vector itself. So it means that the next line is 2mn equals to AD plus BC. Agree? And then there is one more step to do, is just to divide by 2, yes? So I divide everything by 2. I multiply by 1/2. It's better to say it in that way. It becomes MN. This becomes 1/2 AD plus BC. This is the process. By the way, the good news is that it doesn't matter. Are you working in geometry, in algebra, in advanced mathematics? This is the way that you need to think all the time. And this is the good point. You learn one recipe of the way of thinking and you apply it for every subject in mathematics. It doesn't matter you are working math 4, math 1, this is the same thing. Even you can use it for chemistry and physics. This is the way that you need to think. Is that clear? Okay. There is a problem in the book. That is something somehow, where is my book? Oh, it's here. So let me tell you this. This is a level 3 problem in the book. That's also nice. I want to wait, but I think you can solve it now. If you have learned what I said, I want to wait for you. Problem 7326. Problem 7. So Origo, mathematics, Origo. Let me write it. So mathematics 3C Origo. 7326 page 279. Thank you. Yeah. So I want to wait for you. Pardon? Oh, sorry.
What are you talking about?
No, this is one. Sorry. Just read the problem, try to understand that, and try to solve it. I want to wait for you, okay?
Jag undrar också det. Vad menar
Vilken som helst. Ja, vart som helst.
Okay, so let me write the problem here if in case someone else doesn't have the book and listening. So you just continue.
Vad som helst. Alltså den var till plan. Det här är en plan. Ja, alltså det här är en plan. Det var en var som helst. Här. Ja, alltså enligt
So the problem is this, yes, you have a vector, if I understand the Swedish. So you have a vector AB, and then you know that I is the middle point, yes? M is any point, yes?
Yeah.
So M is any point. You can check, for example, take it here. We want to show that vector MA plus vector MB is 2 times vector MI. Vector MA plus vector MB is 2 times vector MI. This is what we want to show. Try to repeat what I said. Definitely you will be able to solve it immediately. But you need to repeat those sentences to yourself. And you don't have to draw the picture like me. Might be you put M on top. That's okay. I just chose here because there was not enough space there. Whenever you are done, you can talk to me, okay? Who finished the problem? Did you finish? Yeah. I want to wait a little bit more because this is simple. It is not simple. This is level 3 problem. But for now, after solving this harder problem, it is easy for you to solve this problem. Okay, so let us talk about this. Anyone volunteer to talk from the beginning to the end? Yes, Kaja?
So I said that MA is the same thing as MI plus IM.
MI plus IM.
I actually draw the triangle in another because
No problem. Yeah.
And then MB is the same thing as MI plus IB. And then I said we have 2 MI, and that's equal to 2 MI.
Yes.
We have 2 MIs in the right hand side and 2 MIs on the left hand side. So I
Yeah, exactly. And then you add them and the same idea.
yeah, and
Yes? So you see what she's saying is more or less the same thing that we did here. You are saying that, okay, I have 2 MI here, so this motivates me, if possible, based on this experience. This experience now was proven to be useful because it was useful for the previous problem. So let us see if I can apply the same idea here. You say that I have 2 MIs here. Is it possible to write MI in 2 different ways in this figure? It's clear, even that easier than the other one, yes? So MI, what can I write? MI is equal to MA plus AI. This, of course, you don't need any figures, but it is also possible to see the figure. So this is your AI. Is that understandable? And then you have another one in the other direction. MI is, this time, MB plus BI. Yes? But the same story again. You have enough experience now. You add these 2 together, it becomes 2 MI. On the right-hand side, I see that I have MA plus MB, so this means that I need them, so let me keep them next to each other. And I want to get rid of the rest that I don't need them. AI plus AI plus BI. And then in the exam, you need to motivate. I am talking it orally here, but you need to write it down. You would say that AI and BI lie on the same line. They have the same lengths and they are in opposite direction. So this means that this sum is the zero vector. Yes? And then I am done, finished. So this is the level 3 problem you're doing. Yes? Is that clear? Okay. Now, do you want a little bit more challenging one?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Let me write at least. But this is the idea. You need to use what you learned here to see that if you can solve a little bit harder problem. So that is also good, by the way. This is something that I have it in my memories. Because you know, usually in mathematics, you remember the main theorems. For example, Pythagoras theorem or something. Nobody cares about these things. But if you want to be a strong problem solver, it's better to remember these ideas. So if you have a triangle and you draw this, you connect this point to the middle point. By the way, this is called the median. It's good to remember. If I have a triangle, any triangle, if you take one vertex and connect it to the middle point of the opposite side, this line is called the median. How many medians do we have in a triangle? 3 of them. I can connect this to the middle of this one. I can connect this to the middle of this one. I can connect this to the middle of this one. And a very interesting property is that all of them pass through the same point. That is not trivial at all. But if you do this, this happens. Okay? So these are the medians. So this tells you that if you have the median vector, it is the average. It is this divided by 2. 1 over 2 MA. So if I add this vector and this vector, it becomes 2 times larger than this vector. Okay. Now my question is that how can I solve this problem? Now assume that here I have, let me draw a triangle in this way. Let me change my color. So if I have a triangle in this form, now for example, A, B, C. Now let me write it O, A, B, okay? And then I divide this into 3 equal pieces. I don't want to concentrate on the middle. Divide this into 3 equal pieces. And let me call this one M. And then I draw this vector from here to here. Okay? My question is that, so you know that this is 3 equal pieces. I take this one, so this length is 2 times larger than this length. And my question is that, write this vector OM in terms of vector OA and vector OB. Right. Okay, so I want you to understand this word I talked about, in terms of. So this is very, very ubiquitous in mathematics. So I am saying that write OM in terms of A. I like this more than by convention, by the way. So A, B, yes? So this is, it means that if I give you vector OA and vector OB, find a formula for me so that I can immediately calculate to determine OM. So it means that, I don't know how to say it, you need to write a formula for me in which OM lies on the left-hand side equals to something here which have these vectors inside, OA and OB. I don't know. Might be you say this is OA plus OB. Might be you say this is 1 OA plus, I don't know, 3 OB. These are everything in terms of OA and OB. Find the correct formula for the right-hand side. Yes? Is that clear what I mean?
Yes.
Yes. Now, if you can solve this problem, actually, it means that you have progressed a lot, but not the other way around. It doesn't mean that if you couldn't solve this problem, it means that you don't understand anything. No? But if you can solve this, it means that you understand a lot. Okay? Be careful, by the way. This is also, we talked in geometry. Do you remember? P implies Q is not equivalent to Q implies P. And then I just used it in my everyday conversation right now. Yes? I say that if you can solve this problem, then I believe that you know a lot. But it doesn't mean that if you don't solve this problem, it means that you don't know anything. So this means that these two are not equivalent. Okay? Yeah. We talked about this, by the way. I don't know how many of you have remembered this. If a quadrilateral is a triangle, if a quadrilateral is a square, then it is a rectangle. But not the other way around. If a quadrilateral is a rectangle, there is no guarantee that this is a square. Yes? Yes?
Why did you write these numbers?
Numbers?
Oh, 1 OA 3.
No, I'm just saying that what do I mean by these three words? In terms of, it's a very ubiquitous expression in mathematics. When I say write OM in terms of OA and OB, what I mean write equality so that OM is on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you have a combination of OA and OB. In what way, I don't know yet.
Okay.
So, for example, this is in terms of OA and OB. This is in terms of OA and OB. But there is no guarantee that these are the correct formulas.
Okay.
I want you to discover the correct formula.
Could you repeat what the goal is?
The goal is to write a formula in which OM stands on the left-hand side, and you have equality. And what you see on the right-hand side is only OA and OB or a bunch of numbers. Okay. For example, you might say that I found this formula. Yes, this is something in terms of OA and OB. This is a little bit harder, but one step harder. This is the way that I want you to progress in mathematics problem solving. By the way, why do you think this is harder? I just want to mention something. The notion of symmetry in our universe is very fundamental. Okay? So symmetry makes the calculation simpler. When I have this point in the middle, I have some kind of symmetry. What is on the left-hand side has the same length of what is on the right-hand side. So I have some kind of symmetry going in the problem. But when I change this from the middle to here, I am losing that symmetry. So when you lose, this is a very, very important concept in physics, okay? So when you are losing symmetry, you should expect the calculations becomes harder, okay? So this is why quadrilateral triangle is a very nice object to work, because it's very symmetric, yes? The angles are the same, the lengths are the same. If I rotate a triangle, by 60 degrees, you cannot feel it because it turns back to itself. So these are symmetry arguments, which are very important in physics. Any ideas? You have the starting idea, I am sure, but it's technical now. We have to end in 2 minutes, but I want you to think about the problem at home. I'm completely sure you know what to do. Let us at least start. What should I do? the first step that comes to your mind immediately. The hard part, I will keep it for the next time. What is the starting point based on the experience you gained today? Yes?
Write OM in different ways.
Exactly. At least, why should I give it up? I should try my chances, yes? Do you still see that there are something in common in this picture and the previous one? The same thing, OM can be written in two different ways, yes? So, OM, tell me, how can I write OM? It becomes OA plus
AM.
AM. And the next one is OM is
OB.
OB plus
BM.
BM. Okay, but the problem is that if I add them, it is not wrong, but it is not what I want. Because if I add them just blindly, then OA plus OB is added, and then AM plus BM is also added. If I ask you, is this a correct statement? 100% yes, because you followed exactly the legal things here. But it is not the one that I want in the problem. Why? Because I can divide by 2, then I can divide this by 2. But on the right-hand side, I have more terms. But I told you, write it in terms of OA and OB. So it means that these are something that shouldn't appear there. Yes? This is the reason that this problem becomes hard. Because I need to get rid of this. But it is not that easy to get rid of this combination now. Why is that? Because AM is in this direction, you are right. BM is in this direction. In the previous problem, the sum of these were 0. Because they have exactly the same lengths, yes? But can I say that the sum is 0 in this case?
No.
No. So it means that you need to think in this way. How can I resolve this new problem that happened to me? One, you see, I am just following the same strategy, but this is a little bit of dead end here. I need to, because I am human, so I need to give energy to it and find a way to just go around it. This is the hard part of this problem. I am saying it is hard, but it is a matter of seconds if you think wisely, what should I do? There is no way that I can get rid of this in this form. Okay, think about the problem for the next. So this is the way, if you really ask Roku, how should I, this is the way that you need to improve. You need to be very patient.
Why are you talking directly to me?
No, because you are always asking that I want to improve. This is the way you should do in mathematics. Unfortunately, there is no time for doing this all the time. Yeah. Try to do that. But if you interchange, then it becomes negative. That would be another obstacle. So forget about this. If you have something on the side, comment, and there is positive sign, there is no shall rule for that. But what I'm trying to say is that you see, this problem is one step, and this is the way, exactly like in the gym. When you want to lift weights, you start, for example, with 10 kilograms. You don't go suddenly to 100 kilograms. You go from 10 to 15 to 20, something like this. So you need to increase the level of the difficulty step by step. But unfortunately, for this system, we don't have that much time to spend so many times. So I'm just giving you the highlights. You need to continue yourself how to do it, okay? But every now and then I will repeat the strategy of problem solving. No questions? Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone that is on YouTube. We end the live stream now. Thank you. Yes.